Pollution affects not only the environment, but also human health. Poor air quality resulting from air pollution not only creates respiratory problems, but kills hundreds of thousands of people a year all over the world. Contaminated water from untreated sewage and water pollution also causes premature death. The health problems these two major forms of pollution cause compound health problems that people already have. Pollution also has a lasting impact on the environment. Pollution can affect people in the environment hundreds of miles away from its source, causing new problems for that area. For this project, we decided that we wanted to better understand pollution, its global movement, and its impact on various countries we have visited. Our goal was to discover the citizens' perception of the severity of pollution and to compare the different systems of handling pollution between countries and continents. The 4 countries we chose to observe were Spain, Ghana, Argentina, and Brazil. We also interviewed students and faculty on the ship, as well as native residents of the 4 countries. We interviewed faculty to get a professional perspective on pollution, and students to better understand the difference of how pollution is perceived in the world, including the United States. The faculty member we chose to interview on the ship is Professor Kay Slaughter. She is currently teaching environmental courses on the ship that include the topic of pollution and thus is a very knowledgeable source on the subject.
I think we have more pollution than we realize. Acid rain, I would probably say that the U.S. is at a 2, but water pollution, I would say we're probably at 7. And air pollution, I'd say 7. Carbon emissions, I'd say 10, that were really bad on the amount of carbon per person that we emit is contributing a lot to global warming. I think that the data shows, maybe changing somewhat, but that people in poor and minority communities are the most affected because often the facilities that do the most pollution are sited near them, near their neighborhoods. Well, I think the U.S. should be part of the global efforts to combat climate change, and we did not sign the Kyoto Protocol, so I think we should sign that, and we also should sign the Law of the Sea and commit ourselves not only to a lot of other things in the Law of the Sea, safe passage and all those things, but also to environmental stewardship of the oceans. And then at home, we need to strengthen aspects of the Clean Water Act so that it will be applicable to the ocean. Some parts of it are, but they haven't rewritten the regulations, so that needs to be more of a priority. And the Clean Air Act is being changed currently by the Environmental Protection Agency, or they're proposing changes that have moved forward that would combat climate change, and I think that's a good thing.
In Spain, we are able to get our first resident perspectives on pollution.
And what is your opinion on street garbage and just outside garbage in general in Sevilla or Spain?
In Sevilla, I haven't noticed a big problem with outside garbage just littering the streets. And I think people are relatively clean and throw their garbage away. The trash cans are supposed to go.
So would you say you see people more throwing stuff on the street or throwing stuff in the garbage?
Throwing stuff in the garbage.
Yeah. How about air pollution? Is it smoggy?
I didn't notice very much smog.
No.
So, yeah.
Comparing it to other countries you visited, or United States or other places, how would you say it ranks?
I visited Santiago, Chile, and there was a lot of smog.
Yeah.
And I was kind of surprised. So compared to that, no, there's not a lot. And then compared to the states, I've been to LA, there's a lot of smog.
Yeah.
So I don't think so.
In terms of when you throw stuff out, would you say that there's different bins for different kinds of garbage, or does it all go in the same thing?
It all goes in the same thing.
All goes in the same thing. Do you know if they collect the garbage at your school regularly, or do you have no idea?
I'm not sure about that.
No, so it's not really known that they're collecting garbage.
No. But recycling is non-existent.
No?
Yeah.
Okay, well thank you.
Sometimes, once.
I recycled in Europe because it was easy. There were the 4 big trash cans, and you just thought, oh, this is metal, put it in the metal, and it was easy. I honestly can't say I've recycled since the Canary Islands, just because I haven't seen recycling facilities. I mean, if I can recycle, I will, but I'm not going to, walk around for 10 blocks with trash trying to find it.
I remember in Ghana, after we used our bottles, just bottles, then we gave them back. So it wasn't the same as throwing them into a bin, but I know they reuse the bottles. But I know that I'm more likely to recycle if there's a recycle bin. But I can't remember what countries had them and what countries didn't.
I reuse my water bottles.
Oh, that's good.
Well, I make sure to use my reusable water bottle, and I make a point to anytime I am writing something or using paper, I use scrap paper or something. I go over to the computer lab and grab the scraps from other people's projects and stuff.
No, I do not.
Okay.
I am recycling my cans and drinking out of a water bottle.
In the east region of Ghana, Kate met Awaku. He works for Land Tour Ghana. When asked to rate his country on a scale of 1 to 10 for land pollution in Ghana, he ranked the country at a 6. He thought that the biggest problems Ghanaians had were the lack of understanding of trash and the pollutants within his country. In his opinion, the generations of people in Ghana should be better informed about recycling practices because they are the ones negatively impacted by pollutants. Even though their trash collection is a government-based, locally operated organization, only the wealthy can afford to have their trash collected. When we arrived in Ghana, we were shocked to see what we saw, although no one really knew what to expect. As the buses made their way through the streets of Tema, we stared in amazement at the amount of trash around us. Compared to all of the other countries we decided to investigate, Ghana was by far the worst offender for land pollution. In addition to trash on the ground, there were open sewer systems, poor water sanitation, and no form of trash collection that we saw. Kate also interviewed Victoria in Sanase Village about her perspective on pollution.
What would you consider to be the most polluted item? Like air pollution, like just pollution on the ground, random objects being just thrown out, water pollution? What would be the main form of pollution in Ghana?
Let's see. But we have so many
different. Out of the way of pollution, do you think that Ghana is doing anything to prevent it, or to your knowledge, is there anything being set up? No. Thank you for your time.
As we learned about the pollution in different countries, we began to wonder what the ship did with our waste. So we asked students what they thought happens to our garbage on the ship.
I think it's exported off the ship in each port that we get to.
I think it's actually burned. I think they put it in an incinerator and just burn it all because we have a lot of trash on the ship and I don't know where else it would go.
I'm in the Case Lauder's environmental class, and we had Captain Costas come and talk to us, and he told us we have an incinerator where they burn the trash, and then we have all our food waste that they ground up and feed to Nemo, and then we have our recycle objects such as glass bottles and plastic bottles and everything, and they try to save those until we get to a port that will recycle them, and if that port doesn't, then they save it, and if we get too much, they burn them, unfortunately. But yeah.
After speaking with students about their ideas of where trash goes, we asked the crew what really happens. On a daily basis, about 20 cubic meters of garbage is produced. If the garbage can be recycled, it goes to one of 4 areas to be taken care of. The ship has a glass shredder, a densifier to compact tins and cans, a bale compactor to press paper, cardboard, and plastic foils, and an incinerator, which only operates at sea. As for the solid waste, it is compressed and then discharged ashore. After finding out what happens to trash on the ship, we spoke with a local student in Argentina to get her ideas on pollution.
About the pollution in Buenos Aires, would you say that there's a lot of pollution in Buenos Aires?
Oh, yes. Too much.
And is it like air pollution or trash or water or all?
All of the above. Yes. No, in Buenos Aires is very dirty, very dirty. A lot of smog from all of the cars. There's no smog tests like in the U.S. They do smog tests, right?
Yeah.
Yes, there's nothing like that, no regulations. And a lot of trash on the street all the time. There is a garbage system that comes and gets the trash.
Oh, so someone comes and collects the trash?
Yes, yes.
Like weekly or?
Daily.
Oh.
But the government is trying to regulate the trash better. We have a lot of trash cans on the streets everywhere, but it's not as effective just because it is such a high rate, and we didn't start recycling till about 2000.
So you do recycle now?
Now, a lot of people, but not in the more poor. In public trash, there's no distinction. It's if you do your own personal recycling.
Do you know if when they, do they sort it after, or do you not know?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
What would you say your hopes are for Buenos Aires in terms of like just dealing with pollution and trash and that kind of stuff?
Just a more sustainable place to live in.
Yeah.
Buenos Aires really contributes to the damage that pollution has given off to the earth, and they took a really long time to try to fix that. And even now, they're in the process of developing a better system and being more clean. But it's a very slow process because of our overpopulation, right? So it just takes a long time because the poverty is so high that it's very hard. But in general, Buenos Aires, for the developing country that it is, that's definitely an aspect that it needs to work on the most.
Yeah.
Because it's not sustainable living for the people of Buenos Aires, especially for the poor. The poor are living in miserable conditions, and the amount of pollution and smog is not safe at all for them.
Wow. Well, thank you.
No, they do.
I did notice did not appear in Buenos Aires to be any kind of infrastructure to regularly pick up trash. I just saw so much bags of trash left on the street as if there were no one coming to pick them up, at least during the days we were there.
In Buenos, I met Andrea, who offered a different perspective on pollution than what we have heard in other countries.
How would you rate the amount of pollution in your country on a scale of 1 to 10? 1 being not bad at all and 10 being really bad pollution.
It's not bad at all. It's also the pollution here.
Who do you think is the most affected and least affected by the pollution?
It's the most difficult here. The public police here. We don't have very public police to make this service here in Manaus.
Okay. How is the trash collected? Is it collected by a company, or what do you do for that?
For a company, yeah. Every night, every weekends, it's collected.
Okay. And where does it go after it's collected? Do you know where it goes after the trash is collected?
No, I don't know.
Okay. And do you have to pay for it to be collected?
No, the paper is free. It's free.
Okay. And do you know of any government programs that are used to help combat pollution?
No, I don't know. I don't know any program.
Okay. Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Any question?
I do believe that the nations of Africa and South America have been more inspired by the idea that maybe there is a different way to move ahead with sustainable ideals and have both economic development and environmental protection at the same time. And I think that our foreign policy should support those efforts, that's what we should be supporting, so that these nations don't have to go through the same kind of messing up the environment as they're trying to have economic prosperity. And I think those nations recognize that.
Reduce, reuse, recycle!
Probably maybe using some biofuels instead of just straight gasoline.
Ooh, I know. Use
public transportation so you don't use like your personal vehicles all the time?
I think back home one of the things that I try to do is to remember my reusable bags, that I've made a point to go collect really obscure, random, goofy looking bags, and half the time I forget, but I try really, really hard to make sure that they're always available in my truck. I know it's a bad, that part I don't use, so that way I do use my recyclable bags. So
recycle, drive like a Prius or something, not like SUV. Yeah, whoops, I do. And I don't know, just try to recycle and do all that fun stuff. And
Changes in the perception of how pollution negatively affects people and their surrounding environment will lead to a better understanding of how to unite the globe and combat one of our most universal problems, pollution. So now that you have a better idea of just how much of the Earth and the Earth's population is affected by pollution, what can we do to fix it? While it seems daunting to try to fix such a huge problem, as individuals we can only do so much. But together we can accomplish so much more. Informing each other about the importance of reducing pollution and participating in green practices is a small step to reducing pollution and leaving the world a better place in the process.